Hello, Jerry here with Season 4, Episode 30 of Ask Jerry Tachoir. When we first started this video series, we never thought we'd be doing this many of them, and it's been amazing the amount of questions that we've received and the support we've gotten from you. I appreciate that very much and hope you will continue. And for those who have actually got on and subscribed to the channel, that has helped a lot. And I also would like to thank at this time the sponsors who have come forward to make this video series something that it is, and that is Bergeron. That's the company that I endorse and have been for almost, I guess it's been about 3 years now. I'm so very proud of Bergeron and this company, and this instrument has satisfied my needs. The fact that I got the extended range, which is something that I've been trying to get for over 35 years. Finally, I got what I want, and this is just a beautiful instrument. But anyway, we hope to continue doing this series as long as we get the questions. And if you want to ask me a question, simply go to my website, which is tachoir.com, Tachoir.com. And in the upper right-hand corner is a contacts button. Hit that, well, the tab. Hit that little tab and fill out the information, ask your question, and hopefully we'll do one of these videos. And again, it's been a lot of fun doing these. Today's question comes from Lars in Switzerland. Hello, Mr. Tachoir. I have been such a fan of yours for some time. I first saw your band at the Montreux Jazz Festival quite some time ago, and you have been an inspiration ever since. Your video series has answered so many questions for me, and for that I thank you. I have a rather simple question that I need some advice on. Could you simply explain how you transport such a large instrument to and from performances, both locally and internationally? As a struggling mallet player myself, I really need to know what you do. Thanks in advance, Lars. You know, this question inevitably comes up by fellow mallet players, and it actually comes up by a lot of my fans that come to me and they look at this instrument and go, how did you get that instrument here? What do you do to move around the world with this instrument? And it hasn't always been easy. Prior to 9/11, the bombing in New York City, prior to that, I used to be able to go to an airport with my cases and go to the sky cap, the guy that's on the curb, right as you're checking in, and I would tip him and I'd say, this needs to get on this plane. I'd show my ticket and he would get it on the plane. And that seemed to work very well for a long time. Well, then 9/11 happened, and now we have all the issues of security, and the costs have gone up. So it's real complicated to do that now. But let me backstep and talk to you about locally. Locally, it's not as much of a big deal. If I have a performance or a recording session, somewhere within, say, 15 miles of my home, then what I do is I take the keyboard off, the silver, the gold bars in this case. I take the gold bars off and I roll them up and I put them in their cases. But the frame and the resonators, I leave assembled and I just slide it into I have a little a Toyota Sienna minivan, and I slide it into that and I lock the wheels down, and I have a bungee cable that I wrap around the crossbar where the pedal is and make sure it's very secure, and I hook it to some little connectors on the floor, and that seems to work very well. And again, I'm very careful when I travel that way because I don't want to have any sudden stops or any quick turns that might upset the instrument. So that's one way to get to local. Now, if it's over say 15 miles, then what I do is I put the instrument in the cases because I want to both be safe as I'm driving, because there's a lot of really crazy drivers out there, but I want to be safe as I'm driving, and also I want the instrument to be protected. So I will then put it in cases. Now, regarding international, like I said, lately it has gotten incredibly complicated to travel with an instrument this size anywhere other than your hometown and anywhere that you're driving to. So if you're flying, what I have found is two things. Well, first of all, as an endorser of Bergeron, I'm able to basically call them up and say, look, I'm going to be in Italy on such and such a date. Is there an instrument available for me, or can you get one to me? And usually that works out to be very positive. There has been a few rare occasions when I was in a very strange area that I just couldn't get an instrument there fast enough, and that created some problems. So in that case, you either rent an instrument, or you borrow an instrument, or you go to one of the local universities and see what they have and try to get hold of something. But to be honest with you, flying with this particular instrument anymore is something that I have not done in quite some time. Now, if I do want to do it, like if I'm going to go over to, say, Europe for an extended period of time, and I want to have my instrument because I'm going to be traveling around from city to city and country to country, then in that case, what I will do is I'll put the instrument in its cases and I'll have it shipped over, and it'll sit somewhere in a warehouse until I'm able to go and pick it up. And then when I get it picked up, I can, put it in the car that I have rented or whatever kind of transportation I have, and then move around from city to city with my own instrument. I've only done that a few times, and I've been fairly lucky. The hardest thing is when you do ship it over, it goes into basically a storage facility, and there becomes the complication of trying to locate it, really. And sometimes they want to charge you for storage if you're not there within a couple days, and it's a little convoluted and a little hard to deal with. But that's what you have to do. Now, if I'm traveling around the United States, and fortunately lately we travel via RV, and in our recreational vehicle, we have room. As a matter of fact, we bought this particular unit only because my instrument fits into it. But we'll put this in the RV, and we'll just travel around the world, or I'm sorry, not the world, but the United States anyway, and it'll maintain itself, and we'll be in the instrument. I mean, the instrument will be with us, and we'll be able to have it. So that's one way of dealing with it. It's a big instrument, and again, since I'm playing an extended range instrument, yeah, it's a little bit bigger and it's a little bit heavier. So these are things you got to think about, like when you want to travel and how you're going to get your instrument to and from gigs. Something that everybody as an individual has to figure that out. Now, one time I did a clinic at Eastman School of Music, and this was early on in my career actually. And one of the students, and I was a little intimidated because I was just very young and I was just starting out one of my very first clinics. And I remember a student asked me, he said, "So, do you work out?" And I thought it was a very weird question to come from Eastman School of Music. But then the more I thought about it, I realized that this is a big, heavy instrument. And a marimba is even bigger and heavier. And do you work out? Yeah, you have to. You have to be able to stay physically strong and capable of maneuvering these instruments. So even though at that time it sounded like a question that I kind of thought was maybe a joke, but it turned out to be a question that he was serious about. How do you maintain your muscle strength to be able to manipulate and move these instruments? And not only move them, but when you're playing these instruments, they're physically demanding. You're standing for long periods of time, a lot of time on one leg when you're balancing on the pedal. So you have to be in touch with your body and make sure you're physically capable of both playing it and carrying it. So Lars, that's really all I have to offer in terms of getting around with your instrument. And I know for a fact that a lot of cities in Europe, they have small vehicles. They have those little Citroen vehicles that are really dinky. And as a matter of fact, one time we were at a hotel and they called up to get a vehicle for me to get to the concert hall. And this little Fiat showed up. And I looked at it, I go, "No, that's not going to work." And the guy goes, "Oh, yeah, sure, we'll make it work. No problem." And so he took the body, the biggest part of the case, and he put it on the roof of this Fiat. He goes, "You sit here and you hold this." I had my arm out the window, holding on to the handle of the case. And then he took the resonators, it was in another case, and he set it on the fender of this car, and kind of there was a little railing there. He set it on the fender, and he was reaching out, holding it while he's driving. And then, of course, I had my bars with me, too. They were behind me. But we did it. And fortunately, it wasn't that far. It was only a couple miles to get to the concert hall. But, I mean, things like that, crazy things happen all the time. And as a matter of fact, there was another situation where a company sent me an instrument in New York City. And the same thing happened. My friend said that I had it shipped to his house because we were getting ready for a rehearsal. And he said that the funniest thing is this guy showed up, and he said it looked like a pizza car. It was a real small little car, and he had everything balancing on the roof. He had them all tied down, bungee cables and everything, and he was the delivery guy for my instrument. So you do crazy things to get to the gig, and moving these big instruments is a real drag, but it's totally worth it, and hope that helped you, Lars. That's the best I can offer. And please, we ask you to subscribe to this channel and ask me some questions, and we'll do some more of these videos. Again, thank you so much.